So you can't see this, but hopefully you can hear it. Behind every Boise State Public Radio podcast is a team working hard to bring you stories that matter. So if you value podcasts like this one, please support them. Hit donate at boisestatepublicradio.org. Thanks.
From the studios of Boise State Public Radio News, I'm Samantha Wright, filling in for Jim Gaudet. This is Idaho Matters. Back in January, we first told you about the Teton Dam disaster, which happened 50 years ago, sending 80 billion gallons of water crashing down the Teton River. The disaster killed 11 people, and it caused more than $1 billion in damage. Radio station KRXK, Ricks College Radio, was on the air live that day watching the dam.
Water is coming through on the north side of the dam, on the downstream side, and it's getting us more and more and more mud, dirt, water, and that whole downstream face on the north side of the dam is completely caving in. Now, there's going to be a lot of water come down the Teton River. As a matter of fact, it's coming down now. An awful lot of water is going to be coming down that Teton River. My advice, I haven't talked to police yet or girl people here, I'm going to in a minute, but my advice to people downstream that are living along the Teton River to get your belongings. Get your belongings. So look, Lisa, look, there goes the whole side. There goes the whole complete side of the north edge of the Teton Dam. And the water in monumental, holy, great. What can I say? People downstream better get out. People downstream better get out. Now back to the studios.
That audio, courtesy of eastidahonews.com. Okay, so now Idaho Public Television has a new episode of Idaho Experience about the 50th anniversary of the disaster. They've been hearing from a lot of people as well on their social media telling their stories about that day 50 years ago. Idaho Public Television producer and writer Joan Carton Hansen and Aaron Kuntz, director and editor of the program for Idaho Experience, are here to tell us more. Both of you, welcome back to Idaho Matters. Thanks for being here today.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay, set the stage for us. Take us back to 1976. Where was the Teton Dam? Give us a little background.
Well, I don't know if Joan's on quite yet, but I will say that it is. So if you know, in eastern Idaho, we've got the two big towns, Pocatello, Idaho Falls. It was north of there. So if you get off of I-15 and then head up towards Rexburg, it's actually just a few miles north and east of Rexburg along the Teton River. Back actually fairly early, 1930s or so, they had discussed potentially building some kind of a dam there for water and with power generation, and that was approved mid 1960s, and then they started building the dam. So the dam was in the process of being built in 1975, 1976. It was not quite open yet, but it was a very wet spring, and so a lot of water had started to develop behind it, and that's kind of what led us to the dam disaster to begin with.
All right, and you know, like you said, it wasn't quite done. There were some problems, I understand. You kind of did sort of an investigation as part of the documentary to find out what caused all this.
Can I hop in here a minute?
You can.
Oh, wonderful. Sorry about the technology. The federal government did a whole bunch of studies post the dam failure. So we have the advantage of understanding what they learned. And then Idaho Public Television did a documentary back in 1977 that went even farther in depth. So this is a topic the station has been discussing for a long time.
And Joan, does this hit home for you? This era?
It does. I remember the Teton Dam collapse. My father and brother went out and helped sandbag around Idaho Falls, and my mother helped Governor Andrus at the time. So, yes, I remember the Teton Dam.
Wow. Oh, my gosh. There's also some rare footage in the documentary of some of the things that happened. Tell us what we're going to see when we watch Idaho Experience.
You'll actually see the dam collapse. We have footage that was actually filmed. So there's film of the dam itself collapsing and, of course, the aftermath. And it's really shocking to see. how quickly water can just rip away land and buildings and take out animals. And it was a very scary time.
Yeah, let's talk about the aftermath too. $1 billion worth of damage, businesses. I mean, this took out a large chunk of a part of eastern Idaho.
It did. You look at the toll. The sort of the good side of it was that there were only 11 people who died. So, and of that, only 5 of them actually drowned. So there were a lot of people who could have died, but because it was a Saturday morning, people were able to get out. But, whole towns were wiped out. I mean, if you think about something like Wilford or Sugar City, there was a 15-foot wall of water that went through that town and just took it out. Water rose between 6 to 8 feet in minutes in part of Rexburg. If you 11, so the reservoir drained in about 6 hours, and it flooded about 200 square miles across the eastern Idaho.
Wow, it's just incredible. Aaron, what did you find out doing this documentary? Maybe you didn't know, or that really surprised you?
I don't know if I learned. I've been covering this topic for years. I grew up in eastern Idaho. I was on the news over there, first with KIDK, then KPVI. So, almost every year we did a story on the Teton Dam. But one of the things that I find remarkable is all the footage that was captured and the footage that we were able to obtain for this documentary. So looking at some of this, I think is remarkable. In fact, one little side note here is this documentary is going to be shown at the Romance Theater in Rexburg starting this week for their Flood 50 program. And when I was screening it with them last week over in Rexburg, one of the things that they kind of mentioned and were in shock about was the fact that, I've seen those pictures. I did not know that there was video associated with it. And so I hope out of this documentary that people will see is now we're starting to see what it was really like in moving images. And we've gathered them from all kinds of different locations. I mean, we've got some from Utah Power and Light. We've got some from the Bureau of Reclamation. We got some from local journalists who were on the ground, and you get to see this progression as that water expands. So the first town it hit was Wilford, and then down into Sugar City, Rexburg, into Idaho Falls, Shelley, Firth, Blackfoot, all those areas were impacted. And the thought behind all of this is that once it was going to hit the American Falls Dam, was the American Falls Dam going to be enough to stop that massive flood of water, more than 80 billion gallons of water, stop it from going any further downstream? In this case, we learned that it did, but it was a sheer luck on a whole magnitude of areas. Also, just after a disaster, I think it's kind of interesting that you really get to see what a community is made of. This is a whole bunch of people, not just from the stricken areas, but from Utah and surrounding states came here to help start clean up that mess. And you can only imagine, I think somebody says in this documentary, something to the effect of it took the topsoil completely off the ground all across eastern Idaho, and it had to go somewhere. In a lot of cases, it ended up in people's homes. It ended up just littered all over the place into a muddy mess. And all these people came together and helped start to clean up even before the government said, okay, we're going to pay people back for what they lost because of this disaster.
Wow. Okay, and you're talking about the folks who pitched in, the folks who helped out. I think I saw somewhere in a blog post that you guys have out that, there was no FEMA back then. This was,
No.
Yeah, everybody had to pitch in. And Aaron was talking about pictures. We're going to put a bunch of the pictures that you've got that you sent to us on our website, boisestatepublicradio.org. And we're going to link to your blog post. But there's a post on Facebook that you guys have out where people have been sharing their experiences, their memories, what happened, how they helped out on that day. I just wanted to look at a few of these that I saw that just sort of stuck out. Tammy wrote, I was 17, lived outside Rexburg. My dad had 3 businesses were destroyed. It was scary. Sandra says, my brother watched the whole thing from the roof of our house. Our house was the only house still standing. JC sandbagged in Idaho Falls, said it was surreal to see the waves crashing over the top of the bridge. Lisa said they were in a car, scariest thing they ever saw in their life to see it go. Tammy said, my great-grandparents survived with just the clothes on their backs. Their home in Sugar City was completely destroyed. Aaron, you talked about living in the area where this happened, and it's amazing the number of people who have put posts on the Facebook page just talking about the experience and what they remember.
So, Idaho Experience is our history series, and this is one of those topics that kind of overlaps with kind of modern history, right? This is 1976. There's still a lot of people who live in eastern Idaho who lived through this. Yeah. And the fact that this is a time, particularly 50 years from when the disaster happened on June 5th, 1976, that people can now really share those stories once again with not just Idaho, eastern Idaho, but all of the state of Idaho and beyond. Remember, this is not just an Idaho topic. There were many, many national reporters, international reporters that were there in eastern Idaho covering this disaster. And so I think a lot of these stories are important to preserving the history of Idaho and the country in this case, because it really changed how we look at dam safety moving forward to this current time. Many of the mistakes that were made are dealt with the Bureau of Reclamation to this day from the Teton Dam.
In fact, the Bureau of Reclamation's dam safety standards are now international. It's what that standard that was set after the Teton Dam was what is being used currently around the world today. So the Bureau of Reclamation stepped up and made these standards and helps everybody today.
Wow. Okay, this is a great program. We're going to put some links on our website. Thank you both. We've been speaking with Idaho Public Television producer and writer Joan Cartan-Hansen and Aaron Coons, director and editor for Idaho Experience, about a new episode of Idaho Experience about the 50th anniversary of the Teton Dam disaster. Again, we'll put some links on our website, BoiseStatePublicRadio.org, and a slideshow.
And thanks so much for listening to Idaho Matters from Boise State Public Radio. Do you have thoughts about today's episode? Make sure you email us at idahomatters@boisestate.edu or reach out on our socials. And if this episode meant something to you, text it to a friend.
Each story you hear on Planet Money starts with a question. What happens if we refund tariffs? Why are groceries so expensive? At NPR, we stand for your right to be curious, because the forces shaping our world can be hard to see. Follow NPR's Planet Money wherever you get your podcasts and start seeing how the economy really works.